Hello, James here. I want to show you a video and a history about the Arabs. And I'm going to not talk too much, but I'm going to give you the basics between blacks and Arabs. But let's start with the Africans.
For about 10 years between 1871 and 1881, a revolt in today's southern Iraq destabilized an entire empire. The death toll resulting from this revolt may have been as low as 100,000 and as high as 1.5 million. Historians are not exactly sure and might never be. Some people today believe that the Zanj Rebellion was a revolt of enslaved African people against their Arab masters in a bid for freedom. But the truth behind this brutal period is a bit more complicated. Welcome to A Day in History, where our specialty is bringing to you some of the lesser known, brutal, and vital events of history. If you like what you're about to see, please drop us a like, subscribe to our quickly growing channel, and sign up for notifications so you don't miss our frequent releases. Like the other great religions of the world, Islam is divided into different sects. Many, but not all of the differences involve the line of succession following the death of the Prophet Muhammad. The Abbasid Caliphate took its name from the uncle of the Prophet, Abbas ibn Abd al-Muttalib, 566 to 653. The Abbasid Caliphate began in 750. However, over the next 100 years, it went from an empire that stretched from Arabia to modern Iraq to Spain, most of which had been conquered by Muslim armies by the late 700s. By the time of the Zanj Rebellion, the Abbasid Caliphate was still quite large, but only a fraction of its former size. The Caliphate ended in 1517, though it had taken a very confusing and winding path both in territories and rulers to get there. Revolt and rebellion were nothing new to the Abbasids, for the loss of its territory and its replacement by other dynasties or branches of the family of Muhammad were common. It ended in 1517, but it took various forms and moved from Arabia to Iraq to Egypt. Not all, but most of the rebellions that took place with the Abbasid period involved struggles for control, not for freedom. Which kind was the Zanj Rebellion depends on who you talk to, what you read, or what you watch. Channels like A Day in History are really popular these days. A lot of our viewers are people who say they always found history boring in school. Unfortunately, for many people in many countries, that is the case. Hopefully things are changing in the classroom, for history is not just names and dates. We can say that the American Revolution began in 1776, but there are many whys as to how it started. Many moderate history professors will tell you that the struggle was primarily an economic quarrel between England and the richer American colonies. Conservative historians tend to stress personal liberty, which includes being able to make economic choices. Professors on the political left have argued that the revolution was about which elite, the English aristocracy or the American landowners, made the rules, especially the economic ones. In the same way, you will find differing opinions about the Zanj Rebellion. After you've watched our video, you'll find others that suggest that the rebellion was almost solely begun by enslaved black East Africans with the idea of gaining their freedom. Others say that the revolt was started by a group of people of many ethnic groups. Even the word Zanj is a bit controversial, for it's an old Muslim word for the area of southeastern Africa like Zanzibar, and not the name of a tribe. Most of the people taken as slaves were Bantu. Some believe that the leader of the rebellion, a man named Ali ibn Muhammad, was descended from black African slaves. Others think he was Arab. Others still believe both are possible. Ali proclaimed himself a descendant of the Prophet through his son-in-law, Ali. At other times, he announced that he belonged to one powerful Arab clan or another, all with royal or important religious ancestry. Those who wrote of the rebellion shortly after it ended, in other words, the winners, denied that Ali had any links at all to the Prophet or leading clans. Temperatures in Basra, Iraq, near the center of the rebellion, runs between 92 degrees Fahrenheit, 33 degrees centigrade, and 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 48 degrees centigrade, through April and October. It's not exactly chilly the rest of the year either. Just existing in these kinds of temperatures is a challenge. Living and working in them as an enslaved person is something else entirely. Most of the work in the southeast of today's Iraq involved harvesting sugarcane. A few hundred years later, this became the primary work for the slaves on the many Caribbean islands held by Spain, France, England, and the Netherlands, situated where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers meet and empty into the Persian Gulf. The air is often very humid. Dehydration and exhaustion were common causes of death, even without heavy work. Work in the cane fields was deadly in the extreme. Malaria ravaged the population. Leeches, worms, and microscopic organisms caused a variety of other diseases. Though the study of medicine in the Arab world was perhaps the most advanced on earth at the time, accurate knowledge of what caused these diseases and how to prevent them was lacking. Slaves died by the hundreds or more each year. That's why the slave trade from Africa and other parts of the world, particularly that of the Abbasids' enemies in Persia and other parts of the Middle East, continued increasingly for centuries. Combined with a poor diet and beatings, the life expectancy of an enslaved person working in the cane fields was not long. Ali ibn Muhammad was a rabble-rouser. The Zanj rebellion was not the first rebellion that he attempted to start. Between 860 and 861, he lived in the Abbasid capital of Samarra, roughly 65 miles north of Baghdad and 350 miles north of Basra. Throughout Muslim history, bright or educated slaves in various empires could and often did hold positions of power and influence. In Samarra, Ali befriended influential slaves who worked in the administration of the caliphate and ran wealthy households. Some say he attempted to gauge the possibility of a rebellion in the capital and what the regime's response would be. Ali may also have been trying to find out where the best chance of beginning a slave revolt would be, for in 863 he journeyed to Bahrain on the eastern Arab peninsula. He attempted to rouse the slaves there into rebellion. Though he gained some support, there was not enough, and Ali was forced to flee. The same thing happened to him when he attempted to insert himself in the politics of Basra, the closest city to the marshes worked by thousands of Zanj and other slaves. He was arrested and eventually found himself in Baghdad, where he was held for a year. Ali must have been quite charismatic, for he gained followers there. One of the main threads of Ali's story is that, at various times, he claimed to be different things. In Bahrain, he claimed to be Shia Muslim. In Baghdad, he claimed to be descended from the leader of a slave revolt that occurred 100.
No matter who you are, being yourself can be tough when you have severe asthma. Triggers can pop up out of nowhere, causing inflammation that can lead to asthma attacks. But no matter what type of severe asthma,
descended from the leader of a slave revolt that occurred 100 years before. When meeting slaves in Basra, he claimed to be a representative of one of the caliph's sons and inquired about their work and diet. We don't know precisely why Ali attempted these revolts. Abbasid society was quite literate, and many accounts of the Zanj rebellion and Ali exist. Still, most of these were written by those opposed to him and can't necessarily be counted on to give an accurate and unbiased account. Ali may have been one of those people who firmly believed that slavery was an injustice. He may also have been power-hungry, but poor, and starting a slave revolt could be a way to gain power, though a very difficult one. Abbasid and early Muslim history are also filled with men who believed God sent them to cleanse the Muslim faith, or thought that they were the next Muhammad. Whatever the reason, Ali was incredibly successful in raising the slaves of the marshes in southern Iraq when he returned there in 869 after hearing about riots between opposing clans in the area. Perhaps seeing an opportunity while the powers of the area were at each other's throats, Ali and his growing band of followers began a guerrilla-style campaign, using the marshes from which to hide and launch attacks. Ali appealed to his followers by stating that he was a follower of the Kharijite sect, which had once been a powerful faction in Abbasid politics. The Kharijites had called for, among other things, qualified leaders, even if they had been slaves, not necessarily from those descended from the Prophet. Though the Kharijites had been defeated, it's easy to see why this would appeal to the slaves of the area, whether they were Black African, Arab, or Persian. Despite some historians' attempts to lift Ali ibn Muhammad to a semi-saintly status, the truth is likely a bit different. While preaching Kharijite equality, he also proclaimed to his followers that he was descended from the Ali, son-in-law and companion of the Prophet in the early days of Islam. Whatever the case, the rebellion led by Ali grew by leaps and bounds. This was helped by the fact that the Abbasid Caliph, Ali Mutamid, was fighting enemies from within and without. Samarra, the capital, was the center of many power struggles, while the rulers, or would-be rulers of the busy fighting each other, Ali and his followers began to expand their territory. One of the reasons that moderate and conservative historians believe that the Zanj rebellion was less an actual slave rebellion is because as their territory grew, the rebels took slaves and captives of their own. It's natural that enslaved people would want revenge, and one of the things that Ali told his followers was that they would soon be on top and that the former masters would be on the bottom. However, numbers of lowly soldiers and residents of the towns taken by the Zanj were then enslaved themselves. These people were likely not rich or powerful, and perhaps did not even own slaves themselves. Over the next 2 years, Ali and the Zanj rebels took several towns to the north of the marshes, including the comparatively rich city of Basra in 871. Unfortunately for the citizens of Basra, the Zanj burned their city and killed most of the inhabitants. The Caliphate definitely noticed the massacre in Basra, and an army was sent to the area to crush the rebellion in 872. This attempt failed, and over the next few years, the Zanj rebels slowly expanded their territory toward Baghdad. By this time, the rebels had formed a government, issued coins and laws, and administered a large chunk of southern Iraq from their capital in the marsh city of Al-Muqtarak. Unfortunately for Ali and the Zanj, at the time that they were reaching the height of their power and influence, the Abbasids' war with the Persians was ending, and they were able to mass a large and battle-hardened army to move against the rebels. Crushing the powerful Zanj was so crucial to the government that the Caliph sent his son and future ruler, Al-Mu'tadid, to do it in 879. For the next 4 years, Ali's forces were pushed back from Basra into the marshes, where the rebellion began. Remember, the Abbasids were a world power, the slaves were not. In addition to being able to summon a large army, the Abbasids were tremendously wealthy. They bribed some of the Zanj into surrendering and allowed those who surrendered peacefully to live. Those who did not were butchered. Likewise, in a fight for their lives, the rebels slaughtered those Abbasid soldiers who fell into their hands. By early 1881, Ali's capital Al-Muqtara was under siege. The rebellion ended 2 years later after many of Ali's followers took the Caliph's amnesty offer. Those left in the city were killed. No one is exactly sure what happened to Ali, but since all accounts of him end there, he was likely captured, killed, or both. As you have just seen, the Zanj rebellion did not end well for the rebels. The entire southern part of modern Iraq was greatly affected as well. Not only did hundreds of thousands likely die, but the economy and power of the Abbasid Caliphate suffered. As a result, they were forced to give up important territories elsewhere, including against the rising power of the Christian Byzantine Empire. The Zanj rebellion did not end slavery in the region, but for 10 years, former slaves became a force to be reckoned with and put an empire on notice. We thank you for watching this video on a widely debated yet relatively unknown.
So that's the history of over in the Middle East and why they give you an idea of their mindset and why they think that they do, and that's why I played that video about the Arab world and what's the history of the Arab world, why they think like the way they do, because in order to see something you got to understand what the mindset of the people are over there and why they think the way they do, and how it connects to history, because it's centered around religion, it centers around spiritual things, that they take spirituality, and people go, and in Islam, like most religions, they inhabit the spirit of those prophets. They have in spirit of the people. So they're like a warlike people all the time. Yes, they worship, but when they go to war, it's like they go for thousands of years, and it's almost like that's in their blood to war. But where did it come from? It's just basically it's peace sometimes. But really, when you look at the background, it's like, my goodness, you deal with the people that just they follow the code of war. And basically, I believe what some people take out of Islam is whatever the prophets wrote. They take it to heart. They take it to a whole different level, and warfare and everything else. And it's something that it give you a good idea of why some of these attacks happen, like in Israel and places like that, and how you see it spread throughout the world, the Arab world over there, and where's it coming from? Now, it doesn't mean that everybody is in agreement with it, but when you're a believer, you understand spiritual things. Everything has a spiritual condemnation behind it, and its principalities are behind these people that want them to war. That's how you solve your solution. And but yeah, that was really interesting. But here's another video.
Let's go! Sometimes we can be worlds apart. What is this place? Different styles.
You guys are making me nauseous.
Different opinions.
I did not do that on my pillow.
But with the push of a button, we all click. Ready? Nah. Because like I said, the black man is not ready. The black man ain't ready. Nah. The black man ain't ready. Nah. Because like I said, every bad things to black people, but they have also done some good things. The white controlled media will never let you know about the good things that people do, only the bad. We got to talk about it. As you can see by the title of the video, black men defending Arabs, in my comment section. Now we got to address the topic. Now yesterday I went on my community tab and I said this. Take a look up on the screen. As black men, we are not obligated to show loyalty or solidarity with anybody except our brothers, our women, our children, and our ancestors. The only time we align with outsiders is when they are carrying out our agendas and serving as our puppets. We must always operate from a position of power and self-interest. Now, I don't think that was a controversial statement. I think it was a logical statement, and I still stand on everything that I said. But today we're going to talk about it, man. We got to address some of the detractors in the audience. And so let's get into it. On one of my videos, this person had said, "You're acting like we cannot chew bubblegum and walk at the same time. Just because I am advocating for someone doesn't mean that I'm not with the black struggle." And I responded to him and I said, "Why advocate for someone who doesn't care for your existence?" And now, listen, it's two demographics of men that I will never have any love for, and you will never be able to convince me to have any love for them. I don't care what they do. Listen, we are going to be permanent adversaries based on what happened in the past. We'll never be friends. We'll never be friends because when I speak with the passion and the rage of my forefathers, okay? When I speak, I serve as a vessel for the black men that came before me, for the black women that came before me. And I imagine that this is what they would say if they were alive today. If they were able to rise from the grave, they would say everything that I say on the microphone, right? So I speak on behalf of the men and women that came before us, that had to suffer unspeakable atrocities at the hands of certain demographics of men that y'all want me to stand in solidarity with today. You see, it's funny. When it comes to the European, we already understand what that's about. Because if I came up on the microphone and I said the exact same thing about the European, and I said the European is our multi-century adversary, nobody would push back against me. But when I say the exact same thing about the Arab, all of a sudden everybody coming out the woodwork telling me, "Bro, you don't understand. The Arab is the homie. The Arab is the partner." But if I say the exact same thing about the European, all of a sudden everybody would understand me. I would get no pushback. But when I apply the same logic to the Arab, people want to say, "Bro, you don't understand. The Arab is our brother. The Arab is standing in solidarity, like an arms with us. The Arab, you got to understand the Arab." Listen, I'm applying the same logic to the Arab that I applied to the European. So I don't understand the pushback that I'm getting. But anyway, let's continue. In another one of my videos, this person had said, during the 1979 Iranian hostage crisis, the Iranians let all the black people go because they knew of the discrimination and the struggles that black people in America faced. Palestine supported blacks in South Africa during apartheid. The Egyptian president was black. Yes, Arabs have done some horrible things to black people, but they have also done some good things.
The white-controlled media will never let you know about the good things that people do, only the bad, to keep everyone from uniting. You see, now, at the bottom I said this. By your same logic, you could also say that Europeans did some good things also. Now, let's examine his comment. Let's see how many things he listed in regards to what the Arab did. He said something about the 1979 Iranian hostage crisis. They let the black people go. Okay, that's one thing. And then he said, what else did he say? Palestine supported blacks in South Africa. That's two things. So because of these two things, because the Iranians let some blacks go during some hostage crisis, and because the Palestinians allegedly supported the South Africans during apartheid, those two things now I'm supposed to overlook all the centuries of warfare and conquest and enslavement and turning our women into concubines and chopping our balls off and turning us into eunuchs and all this shit, right? I'm supposed to overlook all of that because some Iranians let some blacks go and because some Palestinians helped us in South Africa. Now, he would never apply the same logic to the European, right? Would he apply the same logic to the European? For example, if I came to this gentleman right here and I said the same exact thing that he said to me, if I said, during the Haitian Revolution, the United States government sent military equipment, they sent weapons, and they sent military assistance in the form of their navy, a naval blockade for Dusseldorf in the year 1799 and the year 1800. If I came to him and I said, the British assisted the Haitian Revolution by blockading the main port in the capital against the French, which destroyed their offensive strategy. If I came to him and I said, John Adams and Alexander Hamilton sent weapons and ammunition to Dusseldorf to defeat the French. If I told him that William Lloyd Garrison, a white man who had a newspaper called The Liberator, which was an anti-slavery newspaper, and he co-founded the American Anti-Slavery Society, if I gave him a list of all the times where the quote-unquote the good white man stood with the black man, do you think that he would ever come to me and try to be like, oh, we gotta stand with the white man? So why is he coming to me telling me I gotta stand with the Arab? This is why I don't understand. What is so amazing about the Arab, bro? Like, what is so amazing about the Arab? Like, I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm not trying to be inflammatory. So I'm not gonna really say how I feel about the Arabs on the internet. But what is so amazing about the Arabs? Like, why do y'all admire them so much? Like, because I know, you would never give this level of grace to the European. You would never give this level of grace to the white man. But why does the Arab get so much grace? Like, what is so amazing about the Arab? Like what is so amazing about him? Like, what does he offer the black man? Like, and it goes back to what I said in my community tab when I said the only time we should align with outsiders is when they are carrying out our agendas and serving as our puppets, right? And the reason why I say that is because the only time that other groups align with us is when we are carrying out their agendas and serving as their puppets. So I said the same thing. The only time we should align with outsiders is when they are carrying out our agendas and serving as our puppets. So what agenda is the Arab carrying out on our behalf? Can anybody tell me? The only time we should align with outsiders, especially those who have been historical adversaries against our people, is when there is a clear, tangible benefit in exchange of technology, an exchange of expertise, a trade agreement, a mutual, economic or military defense agreement, something logical, something tangible, giving us access to their economies and their markets, giving us access to weapons and technology. That is when it makes sense to partner up with a rival. For example, King Henry Christophe, who was the king of Haiti in the early 1800s, his main ally was the British. His main trading partner was the British. There was a clear, tangible, mutually beneficial relationship between the Haitian government under Christophe and the British government because they had a mutual enemy, which was the French, right? So the British wanted to destabilize the French by empowering the Haitians. So while everybody else had an embargo on Haiti, while everybody else didn't want to do business with Haiti, the British were the only ones who were doing billions of dollars worth of trade. They wanted access to the coffee and the sugar and everything in between. And in exchange, the British provided naval support to the Haitian government and provided intelligence. So in case there was any French activity in the waters, the British government would notify the Haitian government of any impending attacks. And Thomas Clarkson, the famous British abolitionist, served as an ambassador, served as an envoy, served as an emissary on behalf of the Haitian government in negotiations with the French government, right? But even with all that said, I'll never stand in solidarity with the Europeans. Even with everything that I mentioned, I will never come on this microphone and try to convince you that the British are our allies. I would never try to come up on this microphone and try to convince you that we need to stand in solidarity with the European imperialists because back in 1812, the British was standing with the Haitians. Listen, bro, that shit don't even make no sense. You see how stupid that would sound? But for whatever reason, we give that same grace to the Arab. The same grace to the Arab who committed more atrocities against us for a longer period of time, who waged war against us for a longer period of time, who has a longer history of committing warfare, conquest, and genocide against our people. But you give him the grace when he has more blood on his hands. The Arab has more blood on his hands, but you give him more grace than the European. I don't understand it. Now, let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. This gentleman said, what about Yasser Arafat and the PLO support for the ANC during the apartheid struggle? Do we forget that? Should we not, as black people, show solidarity with other oppressed people? And then another gentleman on the bottom said, exactly my point. This guy is planting the seeds to be the oppressors. There is nothing wrong with strategic alliances. He is teaching people to be divided based on race. That is not sustainable. Western Europeans are fighting Russia through Ukraine. Native Americans used to slaughter each other, and so did Africans. People always find something to fight over eventually, even if they are the same race. Now, you have this brother talking about I'm planting the seeds to be the oppressor because I simply said that black men should stand with our brothers, our women, our children, and our ancestors first and foremost. So because I said that and I don't want to stand in solidarity and hold hands with the Arabs, I am now planting seeds to be an oppressor because I want to stand in solidarity with my people. Now, wow. Now, in terms of the first comment, what about Yasser Arafat and the support for the ANC? Like I said, I mentioned all the times in the past where Europeans stood alongside Africans, right? I mentioned Thomas Clarkson. I mentioned William Wilberforce. I mentioned John Adams. I mentioned Alexander Hamilton. I mentioned the British. You could mention Abraham Lincoln. I mentioned William Lloyd Garrison. The list goes on. And I mentioned John Brown. But at the end of the day, would they use any of those examples as an excuse to stand in solidarity with the European? They would not. But they want to give the same grace to the Arab, right? They want to give the same grace. But why? Why? What is so amazing about the Arab? What technology does he have that we need to get our hands on? What does he offer that we need to get our hands on? He has nothing to offer. Well, do we need some camels? Like nigga, we don't need shit from them. Like we gotta be for real. What can they offer us? What do they have to offer? We could probably offer them more than they can offer us. We could offer them some of the, the African soap, the shea butter, have them smelling good. Like, we could offer them more shit than they could offer us, to be honest with you, bro. Like, they have nothing to offer. They have nothing to offer. You know what I mean? Like, they have nothing to offer, bro. Like, let's be for real. And even if they did have something to offer, like some next level technology or some next level military equipment, I highly doubt that they're going to want to sell it to Africans or sell it to black Africans. And if they do, they're going to sell it to the Islamic jihadists so they can massacre us in the villages, okay? That's the only time that the Arab is going to sell technology to the black African so he can massacre you in the name of jihad. That's it. So he can massacre your women and children in the name of Islamic radical jihadism. That's it. That's the only time he's going to partner up with you. Why? Because like I said in my community tab, the only time we should align with outsiders is when they are carrying out our agendas and serving as our puppets. The only time the Arab is going to partner with you is when you are carrying out his agenda and serving as a puppet. And the European operates in the same exact way. The only time he's going to partner up with you is when there is a direct benefit, a tangible benefit to the relationship. He's never going to just stand in solidarity with you just because of humanity and morality. You know what? If there's not a tangible benefit, ain't nobody going to stand in solidarity with the black man. Black man got to understand this. If there is no tangible benefit to the relationship, nobody wants to stand in solidarity with you unless there is a direct benefit. Unless there is a direct tangible benefit. So when I said what I said in my community tab, that was simply me using common sense, me using logical and rational thinking, by saying we as black men should only align with outsiders if they are carrying out our agendas and giving us a direct tangible benefit. Now, let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. This gentleman had said this. Bro, stop with the nonsense. Have you never heard the phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend? It's about building alliances with people who have similar interests and share a common enemy. Your view is short-sighted and it's not scalable. Also, none of us had any choice into which race we're born into. So if everyone had your approach, we would ultimately devolve into cannibalizing each other, light skin versus dark skin. If you know anything about history, then you would know that within Africa, there was a lot of infighting as empires rose and fell before the Europeans came. So a better idea is to unite upon universal principles that benefit the individual and the family and the society. The answer is Islam. Now, let me address this, brother. Obviously, I can see in this topic, when I talk about the Arabs, listen, I understand my Muslim brothers. You know, like I said, I love my Muslim brothers because they're my brothers, but I know my Muslim brothers love the Arab, but the Arab is not my brother. So I just look at that as a situation where we can disagree to disagree, you know? Like, I know the brothers who subscribe to Islam, they're never gonna feel me on this. Like they're never gonna feel me. Like, so I don't care to convince them about that. Like, I just let them do what they do. I respect everybody's spiritual practices. I'm very tolerant about that. I don't care what you into. Like I said, Christianity, E5, voodoo, you know, whatever you into. I'm very tolerant. Now, if you're a Muslim, then I understand why you love and admire the Arab. I'm not here to convince you either way. I'm not here to change your mind because I know I'm never going to change your mind. So we can disagree to disagree. I still love you as a brother, as my brother. I'm always going to love you, even though you probably love the Arab more than you love me. But it's all love, bro. It's all love because I'm not a Muslim, so you probably love the Arab Muslim more than you love your black African brother like myself, Nefakar Desalegn. And even with understanding that fact, I still love you regardless of that fact, bro. So, you know, it is what it is. But I do want to address what you said about the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Number one, like I always say, nations are not in the business of doing charity. Nations are in the business of protecting their interests, their economic interests, their security interests, and their geopolitical interests. That comes number one before anything. In the context of geopolitics, there are no permanent friends. There are no permanent enemies. There are only permanent interests. And those interests can change over time because the political landscape is always evolving. So somebody who was an ally today could become an enemy tomorrow. Somebody who was an enemy today could be an ally tomorrow, depending on the geopolitical context and depending on your economic and political interests. For example, in the 1790s, the Haitians were fighting against the British when the British invaded in the late 1790s. And then 20 years later, in the 1810s, the British were the main trading partner during the Kingdom of Haiti. So like I said, an enemy could become an ally could become an enemy, depending on the situation. But my assessment is this. Every good thing and every bad thing that you apply to the European, you could also apply to the Arab, right? The European enslaved us, the Arab enslaved us for longer, right? The Arab enslaved us for longer. The European waged wars of conquest against us, the Arab waged wars of conquest against us, and evicted us from North Africa. Not only did the Arab wage wars of conquest against us, but they also established a bunch of colonial settler nations all over North Africa. They evicted us from North Africa. Y'all talking about Israel is a colonial settler nation. They are the invaders and they are colonial settlers. But what the fuck is North Africa? What the hell is all the Arab nations in North Africa if they're not colonial settler nations established by invaders from the Arab world? So not only did the Arab enslave us for longer than the European, but he also stole more land from us than the European. And now in the present day, we get treated as third and fourth and fifth class citizens in the nations that we were formerly indigenous to. Y'all talk about South Africa, apartheid South Africa. That's a little tiny little section in South Africa. The Arabs then took the whole north section of Africa, bro. Took the whole shit, kicked the black man out, said it's my shit now, bitch. That's what the Arab told you. And now in the modern day, you tap dancing and twerking talking about the Arab is my homie. Yo, the black man is not ready for power, bro. The black man ain't ready for power. The black man ain't ready for warfare. The black man ain't ready for conquest. The black man not ready to be on top. The black man not ready to be number one. The black man is not ready. The black man is...
Whoa. Well, he does make some valid points there. I mean, you can't argue with that one. But it was one. Let me see.
Christian Reformed Church in Broomall between those years, while also pastoring churches in California.
You should assign me control of your stuff.
On Monday, the Christian Reformed Church issued a statement offering their condolences to your family.
To most people I know, the words Afro and Palestinian would seem unrelated. This includes Palestinians themselves, since most Palestinians in the world live in diaspora, which simply means that they live away from home. With the recent events that happened in Palestine, I came across a post that mentioned Afro-Palestinians forwarded to me by the mysterious Middle East, which talked about their existence. I immediately remembered the stories my folks would tell me while growing up. I would ask my parents a gazillion questions about life back home and the people there. I remember on several occasions them mentioning that there was a community of Palestinians. On several occasions them mentioning that there was a community of Palestinians that were black. According to my parents, they were original Palestinians who looked exactly like Africans. I decided to dig deeper to find out who they really are, since Africa is a completely different continent. So how did they arrive there, and what was their history? To my surprise, all the information I could find was based on stories older generations passed on verbally over the years, just like my parents passed on their experiences in stories they told me, and that there were no records of this particular race of people coming to the lands of Palestine. Not officially, that is. Now, before I continue, you have to understand that even though this is a thriving community in the heart of Palestine that is alive and kicking today, as a member of diaspora who lives outside of Palestine, it is not exactly easy for me to simply hop on a plane and fly there and speak to these people directly about their community and culture because, well, you know the situation. Nor is it easy to readily identify Afro-Palestinians outside of Palestine because they are indistinguishable from other blacks and Afro-Arabs. So for now, the easiest thing for me to do is look into what others have written about them. The good news was that there were several Palestinian historians, including Arif al-Arif, who tried to put the pieces of the puzzle together based on actual historical events, in addition to the oral stories told by various Afro-Palestinian families. These family origins can be traced to locations as far as Nigeria, Chad, Mali, and Senegal, and their roots connected to Arab African tribes of Houssa, Salamat, Burgu, Zaghawa, Borno, Gambo, and Balala. I hope my pronunciation wasn't too off. I have this cool feeling now while writing this, where I'm imagining myself being Alex Haley, writing the book Roots, or the autobiography of Malcolm X. I think I'll have to put my ego on check first thing after uploading this video. Now back to the history part. We can summarize African immigration to Palestine into three major eras: the Umayyad Khalifate era, the Fatimid Khalifate era, and the last days of the Ottoman Empire during World War I. During the Umayyad Khilafah, for those of you who don't know, the Khilafah had control over lands from North Africa in the west to Central Asia in the east. This allowed a lot of trade and diplomatic relations to thrive. In addition, Muslim, Christian, and Jewish people from all around the region would visit the lands of Palestine for pilgrimage, where many of which decided to stay and live there due to the economical and political stability of the region at that time. I guess because it was a multinational area, it was normal for people in the cities of Palestine to see other people from all around the world, and made them more tolerant to different races and faiths, as it was normal to see this, especially in a city like Jerusalem, whose Arabic name is Al-Quds, meaning the Holy Land. The stories my parents told me make more sense now when I look at the map. They said that there was a large number of Afro-Palestinians who lived in cities called Ariha, otherwise known as Jericho in English, and Al-Ghor in today's Jordan, places located between Jerusalem and the Dead Sea of Jordan. This means that African settlers must have chosen these places to live in after visiting Al-Quds. That's my guess. The Fatimid Khilafah era was different. This Khilafah controlled the lands of Egypt and North Africa, and they were very well known for slave trade. According to historians, the port of Gaza City was a hub for slave trade due to its location by the Mediterranean Sea and its close proximity to Cairo, the Khilafah's capital. It makes sense to say that it is here where the racist term used up to a couple of decades ago in Arabic, which is abid, meaning slaves, came from. This was a term used to describe blacks.
She left her home in Delaware.
I remember hearing previous Palestinian generations call black neighborhoods Hart al-Abid. I will do a separate video in the near future about racism and prejudice in the Middle East, as I believe it functions in a completely different way from the West. There is a significant amount of Afro-Palestinian Bedouin tribes who live today in the desert south of Gaza. Their origins are believed to be the leftovers of slavery back in the Fatimid era. The most recent era that witnessed African visitors to Palestine was during the last days of the Ottoman Empire, during World War I, where Al-Arif spoke about in his book, The Detailed History of Jerusalem. He mentions that during this time, many Africans had visited Jerusalem for pilgrimage and were never able to go back home due to the new borders that Britain and France had established after winning the war against the Ottomans. Since they had nowhere else to go, they were forced to stay in Palestine and make it their new home. I think it's important to differentiate between the Afro-Palestinians and the Afro-Israelis, where the latter were over 14,000 African Jews from Ethiopia that were flown in the early 1990s by the Israeli Air Force to save them from captivity in Sudan. These Ethiopian Jews are today considered Israeli citizens, and there's a big conspiracy about them being treated as second-class citizens in Israel. And that's a whole different and complicated story altogether.
החוק שלכם, אתם יצאתם את החוק מאסר עולם, זה החוק של רצח. אז איך 3 שנים? בואו נגיד את כל הקורבנות של הנרצח, הם כולם ביחד.
And today, Hayy al-Afarqa is an enclave located at the northern gate of Jerusalem's holy place, Al-Haram al-Sharif, in the Muslim quarter of the city. It holds a minority of 350 to 450 African Palestinian families. They are proud Palestinians that belong to our society and to our culture. Palestine, specifically Jerusalem, has other ethnic minorities that originate from Central Asia, from countries like India and Afghanistan, Western Asia, like the Arabian Peninsula, and North Africa, specifically Morocco. The oldest civilization that can be traced in Palestine was found near Tabariya Lake in the Jordan Rift Valley. Historians say that it's around 1.5 million years old. In my opinion, since Palestine has a very long history of different civilizations and dynasties that ruled the land due to its religious and geographical significance, this is why we are mixed race. You'll find Palestinian features that range from blue-eyed blondes to curly-haired blacks who share a common culture, language, and tradition. Like I said earlier in this video, I'm very proud to have dug deeper into my roots and to have learned about my own history and family. I hope you learned something as well.
Very interesting. But I wanted something else I want to show you. And so this is going to tie into my last video. It's not that long. Hopefully this video will be accepted. And it's something that that's going to be kind of shocked to you about what's going on in their culture, the Arab culture, with the women. This blew my mind. You know, shout out to this content creator for bringing this topic up. And you know, you learn something new every day. But this is about Arab women. What would happen if they got with a black man? And what I'm about to hear is going to shock you. Because complexion does mean something. Who you involved with does mean something. Here it is.
It is Wild Wednesday, and I'm going to get wild and offensive with my videos because I think it's time somebody digs deep into our culture, into our people to figure out what is going on upstairs with our women. Divorce is on the rise more than ever among Middle Easterns, whether they live in the Middle East or abroad. And just like we saw among westernized countries like America, when the women became independent is when the family structures collapsed. They collapsed to the point where now women are waking up and saying, you know what? I want a home again. I want my kids to have a healthy home. Well, the Middle Easterns are not there. We are at the point where we are collapsing because not only are women independent asking for a divorce, but we also have culture shock. A lot of our women are extremely spoiled. Yes, I said it. A lot of our women are extremely spoiled. And the men cannot keep up. What is happening with our women? We went from a point where Arab men used to tell each other, marry her young, so you can raise her your way, which is not right either. Come to find out, you cannot raise a woman because we get to a point where we know what we want. And did you guys know that 70% of divorces are initiated by women? And of those women, 90% of them are college educated. Are they sick of the abuse and they want out because they know they can support themselves? Or do they no longer want to make the sacrifice for their marriage? Let's talk about it.
You know, all these non-black women, they really want a black man. They don't want to deal with their own race of men. Because the people who are racist, you know, like the Indian, the Arab, the Latino, who tell their daughters not to date black guys or their sons not to date black girls, they have the most problems in their relationships. That's right. That's the reason why they have to be racist, to try and keep their daughters or their sons away from dating black people, because that's who they truly desires and wants to be with. If not, why would you have to teach them to be like that? If you didn't think they would sleep with a black guy, why do you have to teach them or train them to be racist? You're doing that out of fear. So that's what you must understand, that these racist groups, they really want to date a black guy or a black female.
You know what I hear a lot of Middle Eastern guys saying these days? They're like, I don't want to marry an Arabic girl because I have to pay for the wedding, and then she wants a wedding planner. She's going to spend hours explaining to the wedding planner what she wants when she can just call the florist and send her a picture off of Pinterest and it's done. Then she wants me to buy the house that she wants me to hire an interior decorator for when she's a professional shopper and she's in the same stores that the interior decorator is going to be at anyways. And then, fast forward, she's going to divorce me and take half of everything anyways. I might as well marry a white girl that's going to pay for everything with me. That way, when she divorces me, it's her cut anyways. She earned it. She paid for it. Why do I need an Arabic girl? And on top of it, the Arabic girl's going to bring me, her mother and her sisters are going to be at my house all day, but then my parents are never going to be in my house because it's not comfortable for her. Your mom is too opinionated, but her mom's not opinionated. Makes sense, right?
You see now, another thing you must understand about dating Arabs is that they are used to being spoiled, or they like being spoiled. Why you think their men have to make sure they have money? They have to open up stores in black hoods and black communities. Because if they don't have the money, they're not sticking around. You know, and that's why other groups of people, they focus so much on not supporting black businesses. And they don't want black men to have money. They like to see you in poverty. Because like that, you won't be able to take their women. Understand? That's why they don't support black businesses. But Arabs, they like guys with money. They want to be spoiled. Just like Asian, white. You know, these other groups, if you're a black guy, long as you have a good job or you're making good money, you can't sleep with them.
I highly recommend marrying black men. A lot of Arab and brown women are reaching out and they're trying to find black men. And I say black men are kind. They're very secure in their masculinity. They're also gentle. They're also not like I see this a lot in the Arab community because they grew up in it. Men get very shy that their women are out there, or their women work, or their woman does something. And black men are very chill and secure about it. Like, she's on her deed, she's respecting herself. I'm not going to feel shy about this. And that's a huge cultural difference that I definitely appreciate from marrying a black man. So do yourself a favor, ladies. Find yourself a black man.
After some time Sergeant Nick Coffin had taken charge of Gretchen's cold case investigation. So when this woman called Martin police, her message was forwarded directly to Coffin. The individual indicated they believed they had information regarding who might have caused Gretchen's tragic fate, and also alluded to an attempted kidnapping incident that may be linked to this case. On January 2, 2013, state troopers received an unexpected contact that gave hope of solving Gretchen's disappearance indeed. On that day,
You should leave America. Did you know that a 2-bedroom apartment in the hood in America is $2,000, whereas rent in the UK in the hood is 400 pounds? You guys are tripping. And if you're wondering, why does this girl live in the hood? I've lived in a safe neighborhood my whole life. It is boring. But when you live in the hood, it is so freaking exciting. Like yesterday, my neighbor accused me of breaking into her car. And I was like, wow, she thinks I could break into her car? I'm belonging.
Cookie, there's someone staring at me.
Who's staring at you?
That one.
Who?
That one.
This guy?
Yeah.
Are you positive it was this guy?
Yeah, you're such a loser. I'm done.
Yeah, legs.
Before we go any further, let me just clarify something real quick. For all you racist Latinos, Arabs, and Indians who have something to say about these videos and you think I'm making these videos because I'm upset because I'm trying to get black men to get with non-black females, and you're saying that I think you're racist because you don't approve of that, you're right. You damn right. Of course, yes. That's what I want. That's what we want. Yes, we want to sleep with your females. Because anytime you can sleep with ours, we should be able to sleep with yours as well. Damn right I'm upset. Yeah, I am, yes.
A lot of Arab and brown Muslim women always reach out to me and ask me, how do I tell my parents about the black man that I'm interested in? There's a lot of Muslim women out there that are Arab and brown, and they don't know how to come and talk to their parents about the man that they're interested in simply because he's black. Simply because their parents have iterated to them again and again and again, no black men. No black men. They'll even be like, if they're Arab, they'll be like, okay, any other Arab country is fine. And if they're Desi, they'll be like, okay, any other Desi kind of is fine. But like, what? Like what? How are they even determining the value of a man? By his skin color? That's not Islam. So if you're having trouble and you don't know how to reach out to your parents, go to marriageshalal.com. We'll try to help you out. You can book a consultation with us. But at the end of the day, you can go anywhere and you can talk to anyone and you can open up the Quran for yourself. There is nowhere that says you need to obey your parents if they are straight out doing something that is un-Islamic. And preventing you from marrying a Muslim man just because of his skin color is un-Islamic. So shut that down, respectfully say no, and, you know, do your thing.
At the moment, it is the African's decade.
Yeah, it is. You're not winning right now. But there's not one Arab girl that's not married to a black guy. Whoa.
Yeah, we're moving in. We're moving in.
At the moment, it is the African's decade. Yeah, it is. You're not winning right now. But there's not one Arab girl that's not married to a black guy. Whoa.
Now listen up here and pay attention closely. And her affection for black men, she's a real Arab female, okay? So most likely she will marry herself a black man.
Ask Petty Tupac. I made this post and some people disagree. I'll read it to you. Okay, black men who associate with more Arab women do better than other black men because we provide something black women can't, like submissiveness to parent households, no attitude, we don't date men for purses, we know when to be quiet, we don't want praise for being wild and ratchet, and we have real hair. No offense, but it's the truth. Like, I don't know. Someone please explain.
Y'all don't even know how often this happens in Arab families. It's insane. When I was younger, we were told that if any of our siblings got married to a black person, that we were going to be disowned for life.
So you heard it from the horse's mouth. An Arab girl, she said they would be disowned if they was to marry a black guy. Now, the crazy thing about this is that these are the people who black people are giving their money to. They hate your guts. They're the same like these racist Latino. They can't stand you. I haven't been to an Arab or Latino corner store in damn near 5 years because I don't want to give them my money and I want them to close down.
And I have family members that have married someone black and have been disowned from other family members for life. Gotten side-eyed at family events, talked shit about by all the aunties. Meanwhile, their 70-year-old husband is looking for his third wife. Like, come on now.
Because racism is still very much alive in the Muslim Ummah. Racism has not been eradicated. In fact, the only people that don't face racism in the Muslim Ummah are people that have the skin color like me or lighter. Brown Muslims don't face racism, so they say it doesn't exist. They say there's no racism in Islam because I don't face it. Black Muslims are saying that they're facing racism from brown Muslims, so we gotta believe them. And number one, we need to stop it.
In the world of finance, it's easy to feel like you're just a number, just one of thousands.
I just thought I'd play this video to kind of show you give you the history and part of how Arab people, basically some Arab people are. And just for the topic, we know that Iranians ain't Arabs. They're part of Persia. So I don't know why some people are so such, because I guess they wouldn't wear similar garb, but Iran is not different. They're separate. They're separate people. But anyway, yeah, and I don't understand. It's like, okay, you're part of the same religion. It comes down to a person's skin, but you worship the same God, Allah. You say that you got the same Allah and you say peace to His Prophet Muhammad. The black Muslim says the same thing as the brown Muslim. But yet, you can't intermarry. Interesting. Well, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, share, and subscribe. And another info site on the history on Black Arabs, Afro-Palestinians, and what it's like to be a black man, to be involved with the Arab, and how the Arab family responds when you date an Arab woman, no matter if you're Christian or Muslim. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. See you on the next video. Be blessed, and like the one guy said, let's just be kind to one another. Be nice to one another. Take care.